Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. It is episode 390. We have a lot to talk about. They finally did some more strikes on Iran tonight, and the scenes are apocalyptic to say the least. I think they look really impressive. Just the magnitude of all these explosions that are going on there. Yeah, I know it's a war and people are dying and it's a bad thing overall, but it does look kind of cool. Come on. Not saying that I endorse it or I support it. I don't know how to feel about it. I'm not directly involved. Henceforth, I do not care as much. I only care to the extent where people's lives, of course, are put on the line. So, to that extent, yeah, I do care about the war. But for everything else, the way I see it is volatility in the markets. But of course, I understand the magnitude of it. I understand the war could become something larger, right? So you can't fully rule it out or blow it off to the side as if it's a nothing burger. I think it is obviously going to be an impactful event for many. So, that being said, we're going to talk about those strikes that have been happening. Military service personnel, funeral, if I do get to that, Trump's comments on all of that, and maybe how China can get involved with this huge issue now. Talking more about the Strait of Hormuz, more about the military spending, and then some more Bitcoin and crypto related news. Let's get into it. So, Bitcoin's current price 67,256. We ended up dropping a little bit more since yesterday. We were at around 68,000. Now we're at 67. We ultimately hit a low of 66,870. I mentioned we can drop to 64,500 and we will be totally fine. So this is nothing to me. Now, would I prefer us to do that? I rather not happen, right? Because that would ultimately be a questionable move from Bitcoin to make a lower low than whatever this line is right over here at 66,000 itself. To make a kind of move like that. Now, overall, if you just zoom out and ignore all this noise right over here, it's just another higher low, higher high, and a higher low to make another higher high, which I expect this to eventually hit, get out of here, the 80,000 point at some point next week or the week after. Now, of course, we choose a Saturday to just go ahead and drop some strikes on Iran, especially their infrastructure. Now it seems like we're targeting. Lovely. Is there any direct impact to Bitcoin? Maybe. In a good way, surprisingly. Why, you may ask? Here's why. We're attacking Iran's oil facilities. This is my little brief overview of how this should impact the crypto market and your favorite meme coin. So we're attacking their oil infrastructure. Iran makes a lot of money from the oil that they export, right? Where is Harvard? Here. If I remember how to use this website correctly, I've already forgotten countries. Iran, away from home. Can we start exploring? Show me the chart. Yes. This is for exports in 2024. Come on, step it up. Ethylene, acidic alcohols, all of this is oil. Right? What's the purple? Chemicals. That's basically oil. All of this is just basically oil. It has to be. So they export a large chunk of oil. That's the main export that they have. That's how they get their money. If Iran has no more money, they cannot continue funding the war, because it is costing the United States as well. It's costing us in the military and also with the lives of Americans. You're wasting money on defense systems, which cost millions of dollars, versus Iran's drones and missiles that they make for only 30,000, I think it was, something to that extent. So obviously they're going to overwhelm you. You cannot defend everything, and if you do, it's going to be extremely costly. What for? Now, we understand it is currently a regime change war. We're trying to get a different government in. We've opened the door. The applications are open. We're now hiring to see who is willing to take up the spot of Ayatollah Khamenei. Whomst will it be? Now, there's that issue, and okay, oil's prices are going to skyrocket a lot higher, by the way, because now Iran, key player, is getting all their reserves destroyed. Strait of Hormuz also getting blockaded. A lot of insurance companies, from what I understand, they're not willing to insure the boats that are going through there, which, I mean, isn't that the whole point of an insurance company, is to insure against some unprecedented event? I guess now with this whole war thing, they don't want to insure your boats if you travel through the Strait of Hormuz because it's an active war zone. Okay, sure, pal. But the United States is actually being the insurer this time around because they want the Strait of Hormuz to continue. They still want global trade of oil to go around the world. That's why we lifted sanctions temporarily on Russian oil, because they're also a major exporter. So what do we do from here? Oil price is high. We understand what that means. Nonetheless, we're trying to suppress it as much as we can, but I believe by tomorrow, when futures markets open, we're going to see a big gap on oil's price. It will rise inflation for sure. We're also getting inflation data next week, which, well, that's going to be an interesting one. We got to spend on that military stuff. The tariff situation as well, although it's not a big part. But all of this, I'm trying to say, is it points toward inflation. Bitcoin is the biggest hedge against inflation. I do think that Bitcoin will benefit from all of this. If not now, at least later. Right now, we're obviously not moving an inch. We're stuck here. But I do feel like when the effect does kick in, that money printer will come on. Exactly. Chad Jeets, hey, welcome. We own the money printer, cost is meaningless. Pretty much. That's the point that I'm getting at. So I think it'll be overall beneficial. The worst has already happened. We already conducted our initial strikes. The war is basically already won. It's just how long will Iran resist is the next issue. We don't want it to prolong for too long. We don't want boots on the ground. At least a lot of Americans don't. So what's the next move? We just gotta wait and see, I guess. We want to cripple their economy even further than it already is. We already talked about the Iranian rial being worth completely nothing. Now we're just attacking their infrastructure to hit them where it hurts. Give us a regime change. Otherwise, suffer even harder. That's the point where things are at right now. Just a little preview about what we're going to get into. Now back to the technical analysis for Bitcoin. It's ideal if we just start rising from here, right? But realistically, we can drop, like I said, to 64,650 and then continue our rise from there. Overall, I still think the expectation is toward the upside. If we do continue to delay or decay and head lower for the upcoming day or two, Sunday, Monday, depending on how Wall Street decides to take all this news and impact on Bitcoin's price, I feel like they've moved on, but whatever. If they do have any form of an impact, it's going to take about 2 weeks for us to hit 80,000. If we just immediately start rising by tomorrow morning, I feel like 80K could be some point next week instead. A little sooner, wouldn't you agree? We shall see. I'm going to keep it here at my estimated 2 weeks from now. Well, the upcoming week is going to be the first one, and then the week after that, we're getting some good volatility from economic data as well, mainly from the FOMC meeting and the projections. The meeting, we already know what's going to happen. What's going to be important is the projections and also Jerome Powell's comments. Yes, Jerome is still in office, and I think I will miss the guy, but that's okay. We'll see what Kevin Warsh brings in, but we don't got to worry about him for a few more months. So that's what we are to expect in the upcoming weeks. Inflation data, obviously, I think we're pricing it in by now. We're expecting inflation data to be terrible. So we're not going to get the rate cuts that we really want, but inflation will still happen nonetheless. The big question now is, are we going to enter a recession because of the stagflation issue? Are we going to start hiking rates? That's not ideal. We just ended quantitative tightening. Shouldn't we be entering a quantitative easing phase? The Fed has to announce when that is going to happen, and you bet your bottom dollar they will not announce that during this time due to the state of the economy, the wars, the low jobs, terrible jobs data, GDP, also, economy is not growing. They're going to have to cut rates, but if they do, inflation will rise even harder than it already is. So what do? They're stuck. Potential recession. I mentioned that this is probably going to be the driving case behind this whole bear market in 2026, is what I believed. I did believe a bear market would happen in 2026. I just ignored a lot of signals, and it cost me a couple $1,000s, but that's okay. We'll make it all back eventually once this whole year blows over. Another thing to worry about is the midterm elections. I do think it's pretty clear Democrats might win that one. They're going to start restricting Trump on a lot of stuff that he is doing right now. Oh, look at that. We're already predicting what price will crude oil hit by end of March. $100 plus? For sure. Like, people are already pricing this in first thing on Polymarket immediately. That oil will indeed be on the rise. Everything is pointing toward that, especially with the strikes that we just did today. Ceasefire when? Yeah, never. What was I going to look up? Democrats, midterm. I saw the thing there. Midterms, House turnout. I don't think I was able to ever find the right one. Come on. Who will win the midterm? Is that how I have to type it in? I don't even think I'm... Balance of power. Democrats, yeah, this is what I'm looking for, kind of. It seems like it's... the Democrats would at least win the House back. A higher chance that the Democrats will sweep. Republicans are not looking that high with their odds. So, yeah, that's another issue that we got to worry about. That's all down the line. Yeah, at least we were able to get the tariffs work around, right? That stuff is still kind of more or less helping, but still companies are suing the US government with interest to pay them, pay us back for the damages you've done with announcing these unprecedented tariffs after they've been deemed illegal. And of course the courts are going to side with the companies if they're suing the US government. They were willing to overturn, or at least try to rule, Trump's tariffs illegal. It's a whole other issue. Wow, I'm yapping way too much, aren't I? 12 minutes of yapping and we have not even moved on to Ethereum. Sorry. Let's move on to Ethereum. Really, there's nothing going on. 1,963. I do, like I said, we have enough cushion, mattress, landing, I don't know what you want to call it, to drop to 1845, 1850 is what I would say for Ethereum. Like I said, it wouldn't be ideal. I'd rather us not break any bottoms below 1930. So overall, I do expect it to rise. Despite all these conditions, I know. But I mean, we're already seeing what's going on. Shouldn't we be crashing? Yeah, I mean, but we already have been crashing, pricing all of this in for the past 2 months. Have you not been paying attention to how low Bitcoin is right now? I feel like we potentially could have bottomed out around the 60,000 mark. I don't think it's the bottom for this bear market. I do feel like we might get one more impulse toward the downside. Something 50,000 something. I don't think anything lower than that. I'd be surprised if we're seeing like 40,000. I don't think it's possible because we've had ETFs of Bitcoin and Ethereum, although I don't think Ethereum is that relevant in this case because they came a lot later. But for Bitcoin's case, ETFs started at around 40,000 Bitcoin, which drove the price up immediately to 70,000 Bitcoin in the first impulse of 2024, if you recall that, in February, March. When we hit our first all-time high, suddenly, right? Cycle-breaking move, by the way, hitting an all-time high before halving for the first time ever. So, and after a bear market, of course, is what I mean. This time around, the ETFs have already done their buying. I guess they could do a big sell-off, but for what? They'd be selling at a loss, mainly. And yeah, no, it is mainly also driven by whoever is requesting the move to be done. But I think, like, ultimately, if you wanted to sell off, you've already done so by now, and a lot of people are disinterested at this point in time, which is fine. Knock yourself out. I will buy all the bitcoins you sell at these prices. But don't come crying when we're about 100,000 and you're like, oh, Bitcoin will never go below 100,000 ever again. And this time it won't, I don't feel like, whenever we do cross that level, whether that be end of this year or next year. So, whoa. I'm not saying that we're not going to hit 100,000. I feel like we could. I mean, it's not that far off. I've mentioned like $1 trillion sprinkled into the market cap of Bitcoin would make wonders. We'd be at 116,000. We would be so back. And the $1 trillion does exist. It's just not here. It's been here before. It's currently going in and out of gold and silver, and maybe even oil. I don't know how to measure the market cap of oil. Can you really measure that? I guess you could. That's just on a very macro scale, though. I don't know exactly how to get those details, though. It's not really that measurable, I guess, because it is a global commodity or whatever. But anyways, yeah, that's my thoughts on all that. Same with Solana, you can drop to 78, you'll be perfectly fine, uptrend will be maintained. Although Solana has been weaker in terms of its rise, so would Sui have been as well. 88 cents, Solana's $82, almost at cents. But I still think overall, the rise is possible for these. We still have an uptrend for it, and we're not making a lower low. So I think it's fine. Hyperliquid, trying to hold up on the 30 mark. That's fine. And even if we do stay above 27, as I mentioned, we're good on Hyperliquid. No big changes here. BitTensor, what is this? I love the volatility on this. Just can't really trade it. If you trade this in like smaller time frames, like even on a Saturday, you're getting big surprises. In a good way. Or maybe in a bad way. I don't know. Overall, though, uptrend is still there. Although it's getting a bit, you know, choppy, shaky, sideways movement. And, I mean, we've kind of flatlined for a very long time now, since 18th of February. 17 days of no real movement in this uptrend. Are you really just going to lateralize here for a long time? Or are we finally just going to break the structure and head lower? I'm still pointing toward the upside, since I expect Bitcoin to continue toward the upside, but the downside is obviously always possible. But, I mean, to see that, we have to see Bitcoin below 66,000 again. Sorry, not 66, 64,000. And that, my friends, I believe is very unlikely. Very unlikely. So, who's next? Litecoin, 53. Yeah, that's okay. Same deal, flatlining here, not much big movement. We can tolerate a 4% drop to 50, and we'd still be fine. I expect this overall to rise to, my target is 70 for Litecoin. We'll see how that continues to perform. Already talked about Sui, no big changes here. Literally flatlining, what do we even talk about? No big change. Chainlink, no big change either, $8.64. Uptrend invalidates at 8.22. We're pretty close to that. 5% drop is tolerable. But I ultimately expect a rise with Chainlink to $10 as my target. Monero, I predicted the beautiful chart movement. I still think we're expected toward heading toward the upside, right? And the move is infinite, right? How high can we go? I guess it's time to draw resistances. I'll adjust that in a second. Is this one perfect? Yes. Next, whoops, that's not what I wanted. Just that here. Well, that's also not what I wanted. All right, here we go. First resistance, 400. Easy on Monero. That's all. And Hedera. What are we even doing here? We're approaching an invalidation of the uptrend. Dangerous. But I still expect us to overall be on a rise. Same deal with what I'm seeing with like something like BitTensor, because Hedera and BitTensor had a large move toward the upside almost at the same time for the same magnitude, and are also doing the same kind of lateralization, still barely maintaining their uptrend. to continue higher. Because here we kind of poked through this, but we still managed to, maintain it, I guess. I still think we will. Wherever this has to land to. Because I expect Bitcoin to continue higher. Okay, that's my view of the crypto market. Let's get into the news. Here we go. I'm going to start off with this post on Truth Social. Trump says that Iran, which is being beat to hell, has apologized and surrendered to its Middle East neighbors and promised that it will not shoot at them anymore. Here's the actual post. Iran will stop attacking neighboring countries unless they attack first, says President Masoud Pezeshkian. He apologized to Arab states that were struck, attributing the attacks to a breakdown of the chain of command following Khamenei's assassination, but said the U.S. should take its wish for the unconditional surrender of the Iranian people to its grave. So they're still not going to surrender, and Trump, of course, is furious about this. They only made this promise because of the relentless U.S. and Israeli attacks. They were looking to take over and rule the Middle East. It is the first time that Iran has ever lost in thousands of years to surrounding Middle Eastern countries. They have said, "Thank you, President Trump." I have said, "You're welcome." Iran is no longer the bully of the Middle East. They are instead the loser of the Middle East. Okay, we're really provoking them, right? We're poking the bear here a little too much, but okay. And will be for many decades the loser of the Middle East, until they surrender or, more likely, completely collapse. Today, Iran will be hit very hard, under serious consideration for complete destruction and certain death because of Iran's bad behavior, are areas and groups of people that were not considered for targeting up until this moment in time. What would that be, you may ask? I've already spoiled it at the beginning. It's the oil. It's the oil that we're going to attack. Now, I did want to show this post here because people are saying, I think this is not even, it's not appropriate to show this yet. I'll show this back in a moment. We're just going to go ahead and get into the actual strikes that happened. The U.S. and Israel just bombed. Hold on, let me get this post here. I'm going to show you guys the videos, that's why. Oh, I could show it this way. They just bombed a major oil depot in Iran. After the airstrike, oil spilled from the depot into the streets, entered the sewers and drainage systems, then caught fire, creating walls of flame on the highway of Tehran. This was the first major hit on Iran's oil infrastructure in the war. This looks like really apocalyptic. It's pretty cool, but it's also really terrible, of course, what's going on there. I love how people are just casually just riding by, just another day in Iran. As like the streets are literally engulfed in flames because of the oil pipelines going through there. It's crazy. Wow. Wow. But of course we can expect from this oil prices to just be completely on the rise. Apocalyptic footage from Tehran following Israeli strikes on major oil depots. Where did this happen, you may ask? The depots in Kuhak and Shahran in Tehran, as well as Karaj, were struck. Dude, this is enormous. I'd love to get like drone footage of this. Would be cool. But yeah, it's not every day you see something like that, so, you know. And this is the street footage that I showed. Oil is reportedly flowing into the sewers as fire burns across parts of the streets in Tehran. This comes as the United States and Israel conducted airstrikes across the capital. Wow. Now, what does this mean for something like China? Because China is the major buyer of the Iranian oil, right? As much as they were with Venezuela, as much as they probably are with Russia. So here's what's up. Cold War with China has officially begun, and Iran is the first front. I love this image of Trump, by the way. It's so good. How do you even get these? I guess there's analysis of, here is a clear explanation of why Trump attacked Iran and why I think the war will end soon. Okay. The war isn't about nuclear weapons. It's not about helping the Iranian people. It's not about doing Israel's bidding. And it is not about Iran being a threat to the United States. It's actually about China, okay? Interesting take. China imports 45 to 57% of its oil through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has the capacity to shut it down. A US aligned Iran it means that an Iran that would choke off that strait if there's ever a real power struggle between Washington and Beijing, and there already is one. The US and China have been locked in a tariff war for over a year now. I love how this all just connects like a big puzzle piece. I also remember when China threatened to export controls on rare earths. I do remember that. Which would encompass any company anywhere in the world that uses Chinese rare earths. Yes, essentially, China said that any company that uses their rare earths, China refines 85 to 90% of the world's supply, they must seek their permission before exporting their products. This means if a German manufacturer uses rare earths from China to create chips for American companies, China can block the export of these chips. That's how much leverage China has over the US, and that's dangerous, especially if China finally decides to reunify with Taiwan. So controlling the Strait of Hormuz becomes critical for the United States. It's the same reason Trump wants China out of the Panama Canal. The same reason Venezuela matters. The same reason he's eyeing Greenland, where shipping routes to China pass through melting Arctic ice. Energy is everything now. The AI arms race is the most important strategic competition on the planet. Limiting China's access to energy is how the US wins that race, and anyone who believes in freedom and democracy should want America to win. China is investing heavily in domestic energy, building nuclear reactors, solar farms, wind power. They're leapfrogging the rest of the world, but they still import the majority of their oil, and a significant chunk of it comes through that Strait of Hormuz. Iran was reportedly nearing a deal for supersonic anti-ship cruise missiles from China, which would make it easier for Iran to threaten shipping in the strait and strike U.S. naval vessels. That accelerated the timeline. Trump's comment today about doing in Iran what he did in Venezuela makes perfect sense in this context. He wants influence over who comes next, a regime that's workable for Washington. If he succeeds, this will be a massive strategic win for the US and for Trump. Hey, we'll see, I guess. What do I think about this? Overall, I agree. Is this really the main reason, though, why we're doing this? It could be. Like, it all does kind of connect. I'm not gonna lie. But what tightens the scope of things here is the summit that is coming up soon between Trump and Xi Jinping. Remember that was going to happen in April, I think it was? I don't know if this... April 2nd. The upcoming Trump-Xi summit just became much more strategic. China relies heavily on discounted Iranian oil, and now the US is striking Iran while tightening pressure across the region. If the Trump-Xi meeting still happens, Trump may walk in with significantly more leverage than a few weeks ago. Interesting timing as well. With the US attacking Iran and oil markets on edge, will the planned Trump-Xi summit still take place by April 2nd? We shall see, dude. We shall see. This was another interesting one that I saw. It costs the United States roughly $1 million to $4 million to shoot down an Iranian missile or a drone, the Iranian Shahid drone, which costs only $30,000 to make. It costs them $30,000, and it costs us millions to defend against it. Obviously, we want to cripple their economy so they stop making that, so that we save potentially millions in the process, right? Because we are spending a lot in this war. And I talked about the spending rise, the rising costs. It's going to be like a major thing down the line, right? Iran has the capacity to produce 10,000 of these drones per month, and oil already is up 25% globally. We're averaging $1 billion of tax dollars spent per day for Israel without boots on the ground. And don't you worry, the White House is weighing the option of sending Delta Force troops into Iran to destroy and disable key nuclear sites, aka boots on the ground. Alright, well, Do we really want this? Speaking of, like, another issue with the cost spending, this is where I want to bring this post up. Iran is actually being smart about this, kind of. They're using stuff like inflatable tanks to just, like, plop on random areas of land, which, from an aerial point of view, when it comes to a US or an Israeli strike, they'll see something that's shaped like a tank. It's literally just a balloon, and they will spend a expensive missile to bomb it. Another way to kind of make us waste money, I guess. Smart, but come on. These inflatable stuff. It's worth noting that Iran reportedly imported more than 900,000 inflatable decoy models from China, including tanks, missile carriers, and ballistic missiles with their launch bases, all inflatable. This sucks, dude. And here's the other one where, haha, look, they used a $5 million missile on a $10 paintwork. Watch the blade carefully, not even a moment after the strike. Yeah, it's true. Some people are saying that this is... Oh, okay, I'm not going to say it's true. Hold on. Some people are saying it's fake. Some people are saying, yeah, it's legit. Like, there's just paintings of a helicopter on the floor that looks like an actual helicopter from up on high. And they'll blow it up. And then you get footage like this. The chopper did not explode. The blades are still in place. They bombed a painting on the floor. But then you have other people like, well, no, here's like actual footage of a real helicopter getting exploded, so you're wrong. But people are saying, oh, it's not even the same location, it's painted, it's fake, it's AI. All this stuff is going on. We're wasting money in this war, basically. Lovely. So Trump was questioned on the whole thing as well. The initial strike that happened, which we covered, I don't know why the death toll keeps rising, but they bombed a all-girls school in Iran, remember that? I thought it was originally only 40 students killed, but apparently now it's 175 plus that were killed. Trump was asked, why did you guys do it? Did you guys accidentally bomb a school? And which, my response to all this was like, yeah, there's literally no excuse. It was day one. There is no way that you could use the excuse that terrorists are hiding inside the schools, inside the churches or hospitals. What's going on here? Well, Trump says, yeah, it was probably Iran that did it, guys. It was Iran. They're known for doing this kind of stuff. Did you see October 7? And then he asked, like, Pete Hegseth, is that true? This is like the Grok fact-checked. Grok, is this true? Pete Hegseth, was that true? He's like, yeah, well, I don't know yet, but we're investigating to see what happened. I just think they don't want to admit it. Because why would Iran strike their own school on day one? Maybe they did to be like, yeah, look, it was the Americans. Because the Americans wouldn't have done that. Why would they have done that? Unless they accidentally did it. Unless the Israelis maybe did it. Who knows? We don't even know where the strike came from. So it's just this whole issue, right? There was more stuff talked about aboard the Air Force One. Trump drops a bombshell detail about Iran's future. He was asked if the map will look the same after we finish with Operation Epic Fury. And Trump says probably not. The Strait of Hormuz getting reopened and safe. Trump's got the plan. He says, we have a great insurance and reinsurance system in place. Basically meaning that your ships shouldn't touch our ships unless you want a torpedo coming toward yours. When this ends, we're going to have a much safer world. Okay, well, we'll see. What is this? I also wanted to check... Well, before I check that... you know what? Yeah, I'll check this first. My notifications. I wanted to go through all these posts since this, because Trump made some more speeches here. I guess I covered this. He met with some South American presidents as well. Yeah. Pentagon may be preparing for a ground operation in Iran, as indicated by a sudden cancellation of exercises by the elite 82nd Airborne Division of the U.S. Army, according to the Washington Post. All right, boots on the ground coming soon. Iraqi Kurds have decided to remain neutral in the conflict surrounding Iran. No, the regime change is over. I thought the Iraqi Kurds were going to do it. I guess not. According to the Kurdish officials, one key reason is deep mistrust toward the United States and fears Washington could abandon them again. Wow. They said that we have trust issues from the past. and we do not want to get involved. Who will protect us if the Iranian regime survives, one official said. Regional authorities also doubt the prospects of regime change in Iran. We're staying neutral because there's no clarity about U.S. policy. Is this a full regime change or just a change of personnel? A Kurdish government representative stated. He added that the regime change is impossible without troops on the ground, and in their assessment, the U.S. is not sending forces. I beg to differ. Also part of what I've been saying. Without troops on the ground, what, are you just going to use missiles and expect a regime change? I do think troops, boots on the ground, ground troops, will absolutely be necessary. Do I support it? Probably not. It just means more American lives also dead, potentially. So, yeah. Not cool, but okay. Trump said, I'll be meeting the families of the heroes who are coming home from Iran, the dead Americans. Coming home in a different way than they thought they would. Yeah, because they're dead. The communications and telecommunications are gone in Iran. Mexican cartels are fueling and orchestrating much of the bloodshed and chaos in this hemisphere. Cuba is at the end of the line. The U.S. has officially recognized the current government of Venezuela, Trump announced. Let's go, Delcy Rodriguez. The United States Senate should focus on exclusively, if necessary, the Save America Act. Yeah, ignore the war. Trump also said that the military budget might have to be increased to 1.5 trillion. Yeah, we're spending more money. Inflation, ladies and gentlemen. New military coalition in Miami, who cares? We read that post as well. Trump was en route to Dover to honor the 6 fallen soldiers killed in the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran. Kuwait confirms oil output cuts began at 100,000 barrels per day and may triple Sunday. Interesting. Kuwait stepping it up. Yeah. And then 7 hours ago, the IDF has started striking Iranian oil infrastructure. In response, IRGC is targeting Haifa oil refineries. Where is this? That's in Israel, Haifa. So they're also getting attacked in Israel for that. I have this post coming up next that President Trump is facing calls for impeachment amid ongoing conflict with Iran. It's apparently an unpopular one. Who would have thought? We're deploying a 3rd aircraft carrier, the USS George H.W. Bush, to the Middle East. Iran's foreign minister, Aragchi, I would say his name wrong. He says that attacking our infrastructure is a dangerous move that will have grave consequences. The U.S. set this precedent, not Iran. Hey, it's only bad for oil, good for oil prices, I guess. More planes taking off. Here's one of the big explosions. The first ones, I guess, to come out of here. If Trump wants escalation, he will get it. Iran says it has dropped 7,500 bombs on Iran, claiming it is damaging all its capabilities. Ali Khamenei's son, Mojtaba Khamenei, has survived assassination attempt, but was wounded during the strike. Wow, they actually strike this guy too. I thought he was somehow going to make it out alive. Here is more strikes, which we've talked about. Iran says the military is ready to continue the war for another 6 months. Oh, here we go, dude. And then it's going to be a year, and then 6 years, and then, you know, it's just going to go on forever. But hey, if they can only continue for 6 months, at least we know that Iran only has capability to sustain war efforts for 6 months, allegedly, according to them. And they like to puff out their chest and make themselves appear stronger than what they actually are. I've noticed this a lot. Here's another one. Iran says that we will punish Trump for assassinating the Supreme Leader Khamenei. We will never let him go. They're not going to do anything, dude. Shahran oil depot in Iran following U.S.-Israeli strikes. Huge explosion. Major explosions. Saudi Arabia warns Iran that further strikes on its territory or energy sector could trigger retaliation. Okay. Here are the soldiers that Trump commemorated. Still wearing the hat, by the way. No respect to take it off, at least. He salutes a number of bodies of those killed in the Iranian bombing of American bases. 6 bodies in total. Here's a comment about the UK. The United Kingdom, our once great ally, maybe the greatest of them all, is finally giving serious thought to sending 2 aircraft carriers to the Middle East. That's okay, Prime Minister Starmer. We don't need them any longer, but we will remember. We don't need people that join wars after we've already won. Wow. Straight up, a middle finger to Keir Starmer. Deserved, I guess, because honestly, yeah, they didn't really want to help. They chickened out. So did France. So did Spain. They didn't really want to get involved with this conflict. And, I mean, day one, Khamenei dies. The war is basically over. Whatever is going on right now is just an after effect. But in my opinion, the war is done. Like, you toppled the biggest guy in Iran, the supreme leader. What is next? What are they going to do? Appoint another one? We already killed the guy that was going to replace him, and we just attempted an assassination on the... Who is this other guy? This random guy. No, not this guy. This guy. His son, Mojtaba Khamenei. He survived his assassination attempt, but I don't know. I don't know if I'd feel safe anymore. This also happened. Zoran Mandami's residence was attacked with an IED or something. You know, just typical stuff that goes on in New York. So, apart from this, Iran claims that they captured American soldiers and have taken them prisoner. I think the Central Command has declined these rumors and has called them false. We have yet to get confirmation, I guess, of that. So, in 24 hours, less than, we will get the US futures markets opening. We have not seen any indication of de-escalation in the Middle East amid rapidly surging oil prices. Meanwhile, Kuwait, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and Qatar have all confirmed at least partial oil production shutdowns. And a full halt of 20% of the world's liquefied natural gas supply has taken effect in Qatar. So did I read this wrong with Kuwait? What is going on? Where was the Kuwait? I guess it was before this. Where is Kuwait? Come on, here it is. They confirms their oil output cut. Oh, they're cutting. They're tripling their cutting. I thought they were tripling their production. Why? Why are they stopping oil production? Shouldn't they increase it? I guess they're stopping because of the Strait of Hormuz? A full halt of 20% of the world's LNG supply has taken effect in Qatar. The bigger problem here is that shutting down oil and gas facilities is not a simple process, particularly when it comes to restarting production. Once plants shut down, it can take weeks to months for production to ramp back up to full capacity. So the next 24 hours are crucial. Unless there's intervention, it appears that oil prices are setting up to surge above $100 per barrel. Prepare for extreme volatility tomorrow. Yeah, it's basically confirmed that we will get... Where did it go? Here it is. On Polymarket, it's basically a guarantee that we will have $100 per barrel. 91% chance that it happens. $200 a barrel. Imagine being this delusional. Can I vote no on this? I can't. Anyways, there's that. The tariffs. Nintendo sues the US government over President Trump's tariffs, demanding a prompt refund with interest. And yeah, of course, that will go down real smooth. Kalshi is also getting sued, apparently, over the Iranian prediction market. This is why prediction markets, I don't know, maybe a bit sketchy. So the prediction market, Kalshi, they're facing a class action lawsuit after refusing to pay out roughly $54 million in bets tied to the removal of Iran's supreme leader. Obviously, there was a bet for that. Ali Khamenei out by X date, right? Traders had wagered that Ayatollah Ali Khamenei would be out of power before a deadline. After he died during the US-Israeli strikes, many bettors believe the contract should pay out. Kalshi declined to settle the market that way, arguing its rules prohibit contracts directly tied to somebody's death. Oh, come on, what a lame excuse. If we're expecting Ali Khamenei to be out, we mean like out, whether that's by death or by force. Like he just steps down or he flees away from the country, like he was going to plan to escape to Moscow and hide there for the rest of his life, right? Isn't that supposed to be the case? But what they did instead is they froze the market and settled positions based on the last traded price before the death was confirmed, while refunding some fees and trades placed afterward. Come on, that's cheap. The lawsuit claims that the platform retroactively relied on a death carve-out to avoid paying winners and accuses Kalshi of deceptive practices. That's true, because I guess you didn't really specify. That's cheating. The episode is now fueling a broader debate around prediction markets, especially contracts tied to war, political leaders, or violent events, with some US lawmakers already calling for tighter regulation. I mean, yeah, what do we even do in this situation when it involves death, right? What if there's something like, oh, will Elon Musk step down as CEO of Tesla by 2026, for example? And let's just say that Elon Musk dies, God forbid. We love the man. Does that mean he stepped down as CEO? I mean, he died. But what do you do then? Do you just... That's what Kalshi did, is that they didn't let the thing go to 100%, yes, he is out. They went with whatever was the odds at the time before the confirmation of, in this case, the death of Khamenei, and did their payout that way. On Polymarket, it was different, though. Like, this thing surged to 100%. Khamenei out by... Do we get to see the history of this or no? New Supreme Leader... Well, I guess we don't see it anymore, but I remember one of the posts, Ali Khamenei out by, and it said like the date, and it was like skyrocketed odds all the way to the top, of course. So it worked with Polymarket, I guess not with Kalshi. Cool. Let's move on to Canada. Canada's Mark Carney signs a happy birthday, or sings a happy birthday to Japan's Sanae Takaichi during a state visit. Let's go. It's her birthday somehow. I didn't get informed of that, but okay. Relations reach new heights with a new comprehensive strategic partnership. What is the partnership? No idea. It's all bark and no bite. I've talked about MAID before, medical assistance in dying. It's basically euthanasia, assisted suicide. Very legal in Canada. We're expecting to pass 100,000 assisted suicides, which is more than the country's World War II death toll. That's crazy. We're systemically killing our own citizens and replacing them with third world immigrants. That's awesome. That is beautiful. Obviously not, it's terrible. What else we got? Over half of Canadians now take on debt to buy groceries. You know what will solve this? Assisted suicide. No, I'm kidding. Voting Liberal harder and letting another 4 million immigrants and foreign workers. And the big fat partnership with India. It's awesome. What else we got? Okay, at least... Okay, moving on from immigration. I know I talk about that too much. Okay, our first tokenized bond is coming in Canada. We've completed its first tokenized bond pilot, exploring how blockchain can be used in traditional bond markets. The pilot involved in the Bank of Canada and major banks, aiming to improve settlement speed, transparency, and efficiency. When was this? It was part of Project Samara. Export Development Canada issued Canada's first one earlier this week on a DLT platform, settled with wholesale central bank deposits. Okay. That's not too bad. Moving on. Senator Ted Cruz just filed an amendment to make the U.S. ban on central bank digital currencies permanent. Okay. He's pushing to strike the expiration clause in the upcoming Senate housing bill and forcing a vote next week. Yeah, because CBDCs are bad. Here's an interesting read, I guess. An AI agent, while being trained, started performing unauthorized actions on its own. You know what it did? It essentially stole electricity to mine crypto. Even AI agents know that crypto is the future. And this is a good segue to the next topic, the whole Bitcoin mining situation. This month, the 20 millionth Bitcoin will be mined. Some argue it will be this week. 20 million Bitcoins. Right now we have 19.998. Oh, 999,306. I don't know why that number just jumped. I think that's the last time I checked. It was 998. It was a couple streams ago. Now it's 19,999,306 Bitcoins. We're only 694 Bitcoins away. Am I doing the math right? I really hope I am. That's coming soon. I love the spinning logo now on CoinMarketCap. Ladies and gentlemen, that is 95 of the total supply of Bitcoin mined. The final 5% will take 114 years to mine. It's going to be so much harder to have Bitcoin, to obtain a Bitcoin. We're in the Bitcoin gold rush. Let's just hope other people eventually do see it as that as well. Did you know Americans now own more Bitcoin than gold? I think I've covered this news before. Is this true, Grok? Yes. According to the May 2025 River Report, citing the Nakamoto Project survey, 48 to 50 million Americans own Bitcoin, which is 18 to 19% of adults, and gold. 37 million Americans own physical gold, or 10.8%. So 50 million compared to 37 million. Yep. Multiple 2026 surveys show US crypto ownership at 15 to 30%, Bitcoin being the most dominant at 74% of holders, while physical gold stays around the 10 to 11%. Interesting. The chart reflects numbers of owners, not the total value held. Oh, so this is each individual person. Yeah, of course. But obviously, each individual person will hold a lot more gold than Bitcoin, I think is the case. This is a numbers game. That's what makes sense. Otherwise, Bitcoin would be at 1 million, more than 1 million. Yeah. SpaceX is reportedly considering a confidential IPO that could value the company near $1.75 trillion, which would place its roughly 8,285 Bitcoin holdings under great public scrutiny and potentially make it one of the largest corporate holders of Bitcoin. Hey, that's pretty good. Nowhere near what MicroStrategy has, though. But yeah, SpaceX will make Elon Musk a trillionaire. That's crazy. I wanted to... Where did the other post go? I think I'm missing one post. I'm missing one post. I'm missing it from this account. Hold on. It was this account. I think it was this account. Yes. Why did this post get deleted? Hello? I also wanted to cover this. A startup company teases Bitcoin mining in space. That's right. US startup StarCloud says it plans to launch a dedicated Bitcoin mining rig into orbit later this year. It would potentially become the first company to mine Bitcoin in space. How are we going to do that? With solar energy, I guess? The announcement came from StarCloud CEO Philip Johnston during an appearance on the Hyperchange YouTube channel. Johnston said the company is currently focused on building its orbital data center constellation, but confirmed that Bitcoin mining hardware is also part of its near-term plans. There's also Bitcoin mining, Johnston said. We'll have some Bitcoin mining ASICs on the second spacecraft launching later this year. Well, it's happening this year, wow. The move follows StarCloud's successful test of running an NVIDIA H100 GPU in orbit. NVIDIA GPUs work in space, which demonstrates that high-performance compute infrastructure can operate in space. Impressive. Johnston says the long-term vision centers on energy. Orbital data centers and mining rigs could tap continuous solar power, in space, potentially providing a cheaper and more scalable energy source than what is available on Earth. That is facts. Compared with enterprise AI hardware like NVIDIA GPUs, which can cost $30,000 or more, Bitcoin mining machines are relatively inexpensive, typically ranging from $600 to a few $1,000s. The cat is out of the bag, Johnston said on X. StarCloud will be the first to mine Bitcoin in space. My question is, how do you connect to Wi-Fi? I guess Starlink? You satellite right next to it? I don't know. Because don't you need Wi-Fi? Do you need Wi-Fi to mine Bitcoin? Yeah, you do. Exactly. So how are you gonna... Okay. I guess Starlink. That's the only logical solution I could think of. He added that the opportunity could be massive, noting that Bitcoin mining currently consumes roughly 20 gigawatts of power globally, and arguing that in the long run, a significant portion of that compute could move off planet. Imagine we just put a bunch of Bitcoin miners on Mars. Why don't we do that? Also, isn't it like, when you mine Bitcoin, it overheats, right? It's very hot. The system overheats because you're using a lot of computational power. Isn't space cold as well? Like the vacuum of space, isn't it like... I'm pretty sure it's cold, right? It has to be. Because isn't it like the opposite side of the moon that never sees the face of the sun? The face of the moon that never sees the sun. The dark side of the moon. It's actually like really cold, and you would freeze to death if you happen to be in the dark shadow of that, of the moon. Something like that. I don't know. Yeah, the cost of cooling. Literally this. How do they manage to cool it? No air in space, and it's minus 3,000 degrees. So space cooling is via thermal radiation, and it's efficient without atmospheric interference. So essentially super slow cost, 24/7 solar power and cooling, but launch costs. How do you manage to cool it? Space is cold. This is cool. I know. I know. Yeah. Alright, next up. Top 10 exchanges by spot trading market share, if you care. If you care about any exchange. Binance, 39%. MEXC at 2nd place, 8.2%. Bybit on 3rd place. Gate.io, 4th place. HTX Global, I'm surprised this is still a thing. 2Bit, I've heard, is climbing in popularity. Why don't I follow? I'm not following none of these exchanges because I don't care about them. No, I'm kidding. I do care about them. Please sponsor my channel. That would be great. I already follow Binance, MEXC, Bybit, and Crypto.com. KuCoin is number 8. I do follow them. PancakeSwap, I somehow follow them. They're number 9. And Uniswap, number 10. I already follow them too. Sex or DEX. Whoa. Pause. I think decentralized exchanges are better. And why isn't Hyperliquid up there is my main question. I guess by spot trading, Hyperliquid is perps only. I guess that makes sense. Fine. You win. DEX 100%. Yeah, because the difference between, would you prefer a centralized exchange or a decentralized exchange? When it comes to decentralized exchanges, it's your coins, it's your crypto, it's your responsibility. If you forget your password or your seed phrase, that's on you. You lost your crypto, my friend. But if it comes to a centralized exchange, it's just like, connect your, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, connect it with your identity, your email, your phone number, your password. We can reset the password for you. We've got customer service. Any issues with the exchange, let our customer service agents know. Oh, and if we get hacked, we're responsible for covering your costs. And make sure you submit your government ID so we know what cryptos you're trading. You better pay up your taxes, pal. So, I prefer the DEX. Just saying. I feel like that's like the true purpose of crypto, is that it's supposed to be like a DEX. It's just that the centralized exchanges, they want to make it more corporate, more... Also, why isn't Coinbase on here? I refuse to believe Coinbase is not here. How is Coinbase not here? I am confused, but okay. There's that. My last post for tonight. Daylight savings time is happening at 2 a.m. Or ends, rather, whatever. We're losing an hour of life, except for British Columbia. Those guys, they know what they're doing. This is the last time that they will... I guess they will still lose an hour of their time, but it will be permanent, and this time they will not be switching, fall back, spring forward. Here, there's apparently health cost toward the daylight saving time. People suffer from this. In the springtime, if you forward your clocks 1 hour, you get a mini jet lag. A 2019 study in sleep medicine linked the time change to a 24% increase in heart attacks the following Monday. Dude, people are dying to heart attacks because of this daylight savings time. Can we please end it globally? What else? Stroking risk rises up 8%. Well, not stroking, whoa. Stroke risk. Stroke risk. Per a Finnish study, workplace injuries and suicides also tick up. Wow, people are more likely to kill themselves over this whole... over the whole daylight savings time. That's crazy. The permanent standard time, so no DST, is what sleep scientists recommend. Our bodies hate the time switch. Yeah, so stop doing it. The government keeps daylight savings time to reduce the population and decrease those claiming Social Security. With 100% of America with electricity and power, there's no need for extra daylight. Literally, like, who cares? Yeah. I never really understood it. From what I know is that it has to do with, like, the cows and the farms and the farmers. Why do we do... daylight savings time? Is this safe to look up on this? Hold on. Just look this up here first. Here we're safe. Daylight saving times is used to shift an hour of daylight from the morning to the evening during spring and summer and fall, aiming to reduce energy consumption for evening lighting. That's not the excuse that I was given. It was initially adopted in 1918 to save fuel for World War I, but it is now primarily served to increase leisure time in the evenings and boost economic activities such as retail and recreation. The Finnish studies disagree. People are more likely to kill themselves over this. Energy conservation, economic benefit, historical context. Many people criticized it for disrupting sleep schedules. The shift remains in place in many areas, with some, such as British Columbia, moving toward making it permanent for consistent evening light. Yeah, British Columbia, they're doing the right thing. Okay. See, I thought it had to do with, like, the farmers. I guess it has to do with, like, energy consumption now. Which is cringe. People will stay up all night. Have you seen a city at night? The lights are always on. Come on. Who are you trying to fool? They will be on and off regardless, depending on the time of, like, if the sun is up or if it's down, regardless. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, dude. I don't run the world yet, so I don't get to choose. Just gotta abide by the rules. That's all I can do. Alright, we're dropping 66,970. Panic not, fellers. We can tolerate a drop to 64,650 on Bitcoin. We will be perfectly fine. I do expect a rise nonetheless. If we do... Like, here's my little consensus. What I was expecting for this week anyway was 70,000, right? If we did manage to break above that, which we did, it was a good sign that, of course, the uptrend would continue on a higher move. And when it came to this weekend, mainly Friday, I guess, Friday kind of ruined us with the bad economic data, the stagflation fear. Oh no. I was hoping we could stay above 70,000 so that we could start the new week at 70,000 plus, and we would hit 80,000 a lot quicker, a lot easier, in my opinion. But now that is kind of discarded, probably because we're going to be starting off the week likely below 70,000, which means that we're going to have to use this week to reclaim 70,000, have whatever drawback that we need, and then the week after that, continue our second impulse higher to hit the 80,000 target that I have. That's kind of what I'm seeing now, right? That's what's currently playing out since we did lose the 70,000. We're at 66, 67. So, might be the 2 weeks indeed for us to hit 80,000. I wouldn't complain if we hit that next week somehow. I don't think we will, though. What's going to cause that kind of move to happen? We're expecting bad economic data, but it's all being priced in. It can't get any worse from here, right? Core inflation coming out on Wednesday. Thursday, we're getting jobless claims. Friday, we're getting PCE GDP data. Very, very important. Heavy on inflation statistics. That's what we're getting next week. And then the week after that, it's PPI data, also inflation, and the interest rate decision, projections, and the press conference itself. Huge week, these upcoming 2 weeks. And then nothing else for the final week of March. We're just going to relax. So that's what's on our radar. That's the end of the stream tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like and subscribe. I will see you tomorrow. How about that? We'll see how these futures markets open. We'll see where the new pivot levels are, what to expect for next week. We'll be covering all of that live, so stay tuned.